Howdy, hey ho everyone, and welcome back to another gaming focused video. Today I had something else in my mind, but some technical issues have risen up, so I had to change my plan a little bit and had to take out this old PC from next to my television. And if so, why not test it right away? I have this PC for a while now. I even made a couple of videos about this back in 2018. I will add some of them to the links to the top and also in the description as well. This PC is fitted out with none other than the 11 years old Intel i7-3770K back from 2012. Since my last video I have changed the motherboard, also the RAM, and I will put the full specs on the screen. It has a Gigabyte Z77 motherboard which allows for overclocking, and I have logged in an all-core overclock of 4.3 GHz, which is stable without even raising the voltage. It has a Cooler Master 212 tower cooler with a 90mm fan on it. I got 4x4 GB of DDR3 1600 RAM, so 16 GB in total. Since the last video, one of the previous models has turned faulty and I had to replace. The graphics are still provided by the GTX 1060 6GB EVGA Superclocked Edition. For storage, I got a 120GB mSATA SSD for the boot drive and a 960GB Kingston SATA SSD for the game driver. The PSU also has been replaced to an EVGA 500 watts 80 plus model ever since. For the case, I am still using the Deepcool Tesseract Blue, which is no fancy stuff, no window, no RGB and all that kind of foolishness. Today I have tested 8 games. Some of them are easy to run esports titles, and some older and some newer AAA games. All testing was done in 1080p with playability and stability in mind, aiming for 60 FPS in the 1% low benchmark wherever is possible. Please do not mind the Activate Windows watermark, as it didn't accept my original Windows key that I had from 2017 or so. Our first stop is CS2, which was released in the summer of 2023 with a mix of high and medium settings. It was running with an average of 111 FPS with a 1% low of 63 FPS. It was perfectly fine since I played on a 60Hz monitor this time, and it never went below that. Next stop was PUBG with a low and medium settings on the map of Rondo, which I have not played before. I am not that good at this game, but the average was pretty decent with 102 frames per second, and even the 1% low was as high as 51 FPS. For the third game, I chose GTA 5, which is still one of my favorites among many other people. With a mix of high and very high settings, the game ran easily at 85 FPS with a 1% low of 57. A very much playable experience indeed. The next game is also a few years old at this point, but a most recent addition to my gaming library, Red Dead Redemption 2. As I didn't progress in the story mode yet, I can only offer the results of the built-in benchmark with a balanced preset. Our figures returned with 38 FPS on average and 30 FPS on the 1% low. I am sure with some tweaking these figures could go a little bit higher. At the next we have Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which suffers also from my lack of time to play the story mode. So in this game I can also only give you the results of the built-in benchmark. With the high preset selected, it ran with 50 FPS on average and 22 in the 1% low. I have recently added Dota 2 to my library also, and even if I am not that good in this game yet, the game was averaging 118 FPS with the 1% low number of 69 FPS, and it did so while all the settings were at maximum. Another new addition to my gaming library is Cyberpunk 2077, which I did not have the time to even start the story mode, but I could test the built-in benchmark with a mix of medium and high settings, it returned with an average of 38 and a 1% low of 26 FPS. After setting everything to low, I ran the tests again and it changed the things and got a slightly better results with the average of 46 and the 1% low numbers of 31 FPS. So last again but not least, it is Fortnite, which I now start to believe that it doesn't like the 4-core CPUs anymore. Back in 2017, 2018, when the game launched, it was easily playable on this hardware, but now it seems it became a stuttering mess. I tried my luck first with the Epic settings, but I got out of the game even before it has loaded the textures. I've then set everything to the low and the average came back quite decent with 118, but the 1% low only got up to 8. The CPU was maxing out at 100% most of the time, and also the GPU didn't have a better time either. As a conclusion for this video about the GPU, the 1060 still has some kick to it. Back in 2017 when I bought it first, it was meant to be a mid-range graphics card for a reasonable price, somewhere around 250 USD. Now it is more like an entry-level budget option. It plays games from the era more than fine, even some newer titles, but it started to show its age already. One big positive I have to give it to the guys at EVGA, even though I bought this card approximately 7 years ago. The fact that this is a single fan card, the temperatures of the card never really went above 70 degrees Celsius. As for the CPU, the 3770K was released back in Q2 of 2012, has more than served its time and purpose. Even with the 4.3 GHz overclock, it will be the bottleneck in a lot of games. Would I invest in a system like this? Most probably not. If the price is right and I need an extra PC, I would maybe consider, but at this time and this date, there are so many used options with 6 or more cores and even better GPUs for the same or similar amount of money. If you have this kind of a system, you can still find some use for it as a light gaming PC, or as in my case, a media PC next to my television. With all this in mind, I thank you so much for watching and I hope you like this video with a look back on these old hardwares. If you would like to see more, please subscribe and I will see hopefully in the next video.